This is Brandon Turner, and you are listening to the Average Joe Finances Podcast.
If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you smash the like and subscribe buttons. If you're listening to our podcast, go leave us a 5-star review. All of our links can be found in the video description or show notes below.
Hey, welcome back to the Average Joe Finances Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Cavaggioni.
And I'm your co-host, Tanya, the Money Life Coach.
And today's guest is no one, because today Tanya and I are going to talk about our end of the year wrap up and going into 2025 and hitting 2025 strong. So that said, Tanya, how did 2024 go for you?
It was an interesting year. I mean, I think I learned a lot about myself. I feel like it was a year of just really learning more about me and a lot of stuff around what I want to do for the long term. And I think one of the biggest takeaways is I feel like a lot of us, we get so distracted nowadays and there's so much going on in our lives and we don't take the time to be in the present moment as much as we should. We're so focused on the future, especially with finances, right? There's always this pressure to like do more, increase, make more money, reach this certain level of income. And I've really been trying to be focused on, can I just be more present, which isn't an easy thing to do.
Yeah, no, that's definitely difficult. I think for me too, it's this year, I told myself that 2024 is my year, and I made it my year, right? Things were just a lot of moving parts, right? There's a lot of things happening. I kind of took a step back in certain aspects of what I do and moved forward in others. I focused more on some of my small business items and less on the real estate side, which I think was a good focus for me. And going to 2025, I want to hit that stronger. But at the same time, I feel like 2025 is also going to be like a change up year because there's so many things and there's so much potential for what's going to happen in the stock market and the real estate market. I mean, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of potential right now, right? So I'm very interested to see where this is going to go, but I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity, right? For the people that may have been hanging around on the sidelines in 2024, 2025 might be the year to get ready to start throwing down on some of these potential investments.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think just seeing, for example, I didn't get to invest as much as I wanted to this year in my retirement and brokerage accounts because I was investing more back into my business and also just in between. Sometimes I have contracts where I do writing on the side and other types of jobs. And so I didn't get to do as much as I wanted to. So I was beating myself up about that. But like the stock market this year was like pretty significantly up. So I still had almost 20% growth on my money, which was like made me feel better about, okay, I didn't get to invest as much, but look at from my past of doing that consistently the last 7-8 years now, that really, I hit over $200,000 in my investment accounts and we'll be on track to almost be at 250 in the next few months. So it's kind of crazy. It's pretty exciting. But yeah, I think you're right. Like just being consistent and being in the position to be able to take advantage of opportunities right now, especially in real estate or whatever, is something I think people should be able to do.
Absolutely. But what you just said there too, Tanya, was huge, right? Because you were able to take this year and kind of reflect on what you've done over the last 7 to 8 years. And you got to enjoy something that we love to talk about, and that's compound interest, right? You got to watch that where you're at right now, getting to 200,000 and then just seeing it go, it's going to get to 250 in no time, just based off of the compound interest, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like 2025, again, brand new year, new you, whatever you want to call it, give yourself a mantra, whatever, but really take the time to sit down and invest in yourself, right? Go learn something, go get a coach, go get a mentor, go take some classes on how to invest in whatever it is that you're interested in, right?
Yeah.
But use this time as an opportunity, right? Because there's going to be plenty of opportunities out there this year. And me personally, I'm super excited. Again, same thing. So like I said, I took a step back from the real estate side, but like you, Tanya, I was focused more on building my liquidity, right? And reinvesting into my businesses. I did put a little more into like my personal retirement accounts than I have any other year, just because I want to be able to borrow from those to take advantage of the opportunities that are coming. So again, that was
Yeah.
my focus this year was liquidity. Next year is going to be probably like, let's pick up some deals. So Tanya, for somebody who, let's say, is just now coming into a spot where they feel comfortable um, being able to possibly start investing, what would you say 2025 has in store for them? Or what type of things should they be looking at? Somebody that just got out of debt or they just got rid of all of their consumer debt, right? They have no more credit card debt. And now they want to figure out this money that I've been paying into all my debt. Where should I put this now? What would you say for 2025?
I think both you and I are in agreement on having some sort of liquidity, like liquid cash in a high yield savings account, something that's earning a little bit of interest, but that you have liquid. So for me, that's $25,000. And I've built that up over time. Initially, I was like, I just want to have 10 grand sitting there in case I lose my job, some help thing comes up, something bigger with my car. So having that, now I built it to 25,000. And then I have some other savings, like you said, you're going on a trip. So like saving for trips and some other sinking funds on the side. But then from there, as soon as you have that, starting that long-term investing. So if you're not already taking advantage of a 401k match or 401k that you have available, especially a Roth 401k, which you can do at any income level, there's no income cap, which is really good. And then also into brokerage account. I personally still work with a financial advisor within a brokerage account. So it's non-retirement account, which like you're saying, you could pull from if I want to not have the penalties around retirement accounts, pulling that money out. And that's the money I plan to use to buy properties or retire early, right? Like start to use that to be able to not have to work until I'm 65.
Awesome. Hey, so actually, I wanted to ask you about this because this is something that a couple people have talked to me about this, and it's something I've looked into myself several times. The whole like expat thing. Have you ever looked into like what the cost of living would be if you were to move to another country? Let's say you hit that number and you're like, okay, I hit my retirement number. I've got my income that this is how much I know I'm going to have for the rest of my life. Have you ever considered like looking at another country or anything like that?
Oh yeah,
I know I
for
have.
sure. I haven't looked at everything it would take to do that, but that's definitely, even if it's temporarily, like even if it's for 6 months, for a year, I think that's definitely something that I want to do, but I don't know all the logistics around doing that. I know it obviously depends on where you're going to move to and a lot of other factors, right? So what
Yeah.
are you finding or what are you thinking about?
I've just been watching a whole bunch of YouTube videos. Like I'm really simple. Like if I can have four walls and a roof above my head, like I'm good. I could live in a tropical climate. I could live in a cold climate. I don't care. I mean, if I'm in a cold climate, obviously I hope that I have a fireplace or some way to keep warm, but in a tropical climate, whatever. So no, I've been looking at so many different things. I mean, we're not doing it anytime soon, but it is definitely something that we've considered for a while. And the reason is cost of living and quality of life, right?
Mhm.
I mean, things are expensive here. And, you never know. There's a lot of discourse going on, political discourse and things like that.
Yeah.
Just stuff I don't want to deal with or be bothered with, right? That you don't
Yeah,
really have
get
to
out of the
worry too
drama.
much about elsewhere. But there are plenty of places that have like communities built up, and that's what we've been looking at, right? Like Portugal was a big place we were looking at,
Mhm.
huge expat community there. Let me see, like anywhere, like the Philippines looked like a great place. Thailand looked great.
Okay.
There was also New Zealand had some really neat things, and New Zealand and like Abu Dhabi, Dubai area, definitely like the more expensive ones,
Mhm.
but they also have incentives for people that want to move there. We've
That's
definitely
sweet.
looked all over Europe, especially in Italy, because I can get my Italian citizenship if I wanted to, because my grandparents immigrated from there.
Okay,
So that was something we looked at as well, because if we got that, then we can go anywhere in Europe.
sure.
Also thought about the gypsy thing, and just not even having a home base and just going places 6 months at a time and just moving around. So yeah, I don't know. That could be potential in the future, maybe when my kids are out of school. So I've got about 5 years to think about that and finalize that before they're all done. So I
I
don't
think
know.
that's amazing. I think what I've seen from coaching hundreds and hundreds of people now is people get really stuck in not opening themselves up to new ideas or ways of doing something, and being able to plan for that now, starting to plan ahead is something that we obviously really, I'm all about goal setting and, and planning. And it's like, for example, I was talking to a couple once, and one was like, I mean, they were probably 15 years out from retiring, quote unquote, but like one wanted to live one place, one wanted to live the other. And they're just having this argument. I'm like, well, why couldn't you live in both? Like, why couldn't you just split their time 50-50 or figure it out? And they're like,
Yeah.
no, like they, it's like a new way of like thinking about things. Like everything doesn't have to be, like you said, you don't have to technically move your whole life to another country, but maybe it is for 6 months. Like how exciting would that be? And a cool experience in your
Yeah.
life to be able to like, I was looking at, they do those those biking boat cruises. You can visit like 20 something countries in 5 months. So you basically live like it's like 50 grand, which actually I thought that was it for all your food and everything. It's 50 grand. And then you travel to 20 something countries in 6 months. I was like, that's kind of cool. That would be
Yeah.
a cool experience.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
pretty neat. Now,
yeah,
was that 50 grand per person or?
yeah, yeah.
Whew. Okay. Yeah, that could be a little tough on the wallet, but no, that definitely seems pretty awesome. I actually saw something about, and I thought this was really cool, this older couple that retired and literally live on a cruise boat, and it
Yeah, I've seen
costs them about, I think it was like 60, no, like 72,000. I think it was like 36,000 every 6 months. And I think it was for the both of them, right? So they're paying like
yeah,
72,000 a year to live on like some Carnival cruise ship. There's only like a couple days out of the year where they can't stay on it because when the ship pulls in, has to do the turnover and maintenance or whatever. And then they go stay in a hotel for a week or two and then they go back. I'm like, man, that is crazy.
yeah. I don't know if I could do that, but it seems like that's a cool option, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, well, let's see. Maybe I would want to try that
Yeah,
out.
but back to the other thing though, is like, so one of the things that my wife and I talked about was potentially buying properties in a couple different countries, and then we would Airbnb them out when we're not staying there. But basically, like those would be our spots. Like
Mhm.
certain times of the year we go here, certain times of the year we go here, here, here,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
We actually looked at different options that way. We looked at buying a property possibly on the French countryside, then another property in Italy, maybe like the Amalfi Coast, another property potentially in Japan. So yeah, just a whole bunch
okay.
of different things we've been looking at. So I don't know. The next couple of years is going to be very interesting, but you got to focus 1 year at a time.
Yeah.
Although
For
I like to
next year,
plan
what are
5 years out, but right
Yeah, I
now
think every
looking at
year you have to assess,
2025,
right? Yeah, for
yeah,
2025, what are you kind of focused on or
you got
where
to,
is
yeah, you got to set your goals, which actually one of the things we're going to be doing over the next week or two is we're going to sit down and go over what our goals are for 2025 together, and then go over what our budget is, and reflect on 2024 and say, okay,
Mhm.
here's what we said we were going to do, here's what we got done, here's how much we said we were going to save, here's how much we actually saved, here's how much we said we were going to invest, here's how much we actually invested, and
Yeah.
just go through everything. And then we're going to set it up for 2025, and then we're going to build our vision board, right? And say, okay, here's what we want to do this year, here are the different things, here's our big hairy audacious goals, right?
Mhm.
And I feel like that is super important for anybody, whether you're a couple or just single person and you want to do something, like sit down and actually reflect on your previous year,
Yeah.
reflect on what you want to get done the next year. But we like to do, have you ever read The One Thing?
I don't think so.
Okay. Check that book out. They also they do a retreat every year where it's a goal setting retreat, right?
Okay.
We actually do it ourselves. We'll go stay at like a hotel in Waikiki, do a little staycation.
Mhm.
And the focus of that is to actually sit down with no distractions
Yeah.
and do our goal setting for the upcoming year. They usually do their stuff in November timeframe. We always do ours in December. So that's the next thing we have to do is book that and get all that set up. But definitely check that out. And for the listeners too, check out the one thing. And yeah, there's definitely some great wisdom and there's some great options for you. If you're not sure, like, how do you want to do it, or how do you want to like put together your plan for the year, that is a great way to just, it literally spells it out for you. Hey, look at this, look at this, look at this, do this, do this, do this, and then build out what it is that you're trying to accomplish.
I love that so much. That's basically what I do every year. And I'm very goal oriented that way too. And the biggest thing you said too, that I think a lot of people that I integrated 2 years ago that most people don't do is reflect, right? Like really take the time to reflect. I actually do it monthly. So today's the end of the month. I do this. I have a mini, like a night off, basically the last day of every month. And I reflect and I say all my wins. I write down all my wins for the past month. And then I set intentions. I don't call them goals, but like intentions / goals for the next month. So they'll include things in my business, getting so many new clients, but obviously I have to be like, I have so many new clients. So that means I'm going to post 5 days a week. There's other goals associated with that goal, but then things like connecting with 2 friends every week and going to have coffee, like being more intentional with the time and obviously trying not to have too many goals at once. But I do that monthly. And then at the end of the year, like you're saying, reflecting on, wow, look at, maybe I didn't hit every single goal on my list, but I did make a lot of progress. Like when you reflect and look back, and then you can set that for the next year. And throughout the year, I have my whiteboard too. So throughout the year, I'm like checking off, and I have goals like I'm going to snowboard so many days a season.
Nice.
I'm going to go, I have like the fun goals too. Like I'm going to go mountain biking so many days. So like gives me those like adventure and fun goals too, which I think a lot of people are so just driven to accomplish like financial or life goals. So having those, I think, is a really important.
No, I love that, because like literally all I talked about was like the financial goals and things like that. So no, that is super important that you take that time for yourself, right? For what are the goals for yourself or your intentions for yourself? Even if it's something as simple as going out for coffee with friends, right? Or, hey, I want to go out and do an adventure. I want to go snowboarding so many days out here in Hawaii. It's like, hey, we want to go hiking so many times per year or per month or whatever, right? So that is super, super important. Like, how many times are we going to go to the beach, right? Or to the water park and things like that.
Yeah, fun game too, to be able to hit a goal, hit something, like gamify it a little bit. Like, yeah, I'm going to snowboard 50 days a season, which is pretty like, I mean, I obviously live in the mountains, so it's not as hard, but it is more challenging because you have to, like you said, a lot of people live by the beach and never go to the beach, right? So like people like dream their whole lives to live at the beach and then never go to it. It's like, how can we be more intentional with, if this is what we want for our lives, this is what we're creating, taking advantage of where we live and doing the things that we love, and not 100%. Just so focused on like, you know, how many followers we have or like how much money we're making, which is important too. But yeah.
Well, but why is it important? That whole thing, the reason why you're trying to get to that point to build up your following or build your business is so you can get to the point where you can go dip your toes in the sand and sip Mai Tais on the beach if that's your thing. Or
but you have to be able to implement it now, right?
Right.
Yeah, because some people just work.
You have to stop yourself
all their lives. Yeah, you should be able to incorporate what you want to do now in some way
100%.
Without waiting. Like, oh, I have to wait 10 years before I can take a vacation. You know what I mean? Like,
you're going to wait too long and you're going to be too old to do that stuff. Yeah. Right. I'm 40 years old right now. So if I'm like, oh, I'm just going to wait 10 years to do this. Well, now I'm 50. And it's like, do I have the same energy I did 10 years ago? Right. So hopefully I do. Right. I'm going to keep going to the gym and making sure that I can do that and keep up. But, you know, age catches up to you. And you're going to find yourself at a point where you retired, you hit all your financial goals, and you're like, yes, now it's time to go out and do all those things I want to do. Oh, my back. So, yeah, no, I think that's super important. Like, don't burn yourself out. Don't sit here. And that's why this year, 2024, was like, for me, a great year for me to actually reflect and step back and step away from certain aspects of what I was doing, because I had so many pots or buckets that I was filling that a lot of times I'd look down and be like, I didn't fill this one enough because I was focused over here. And I didn't fill that one enough because I was focused over here. And to me, that was like a hard pill to swallow because I find myself getting stuck a lot of times and like missing out on things because I'm trying to fill too many buckets at once. Like I was talking with some of my real estate investor buddies the other day and they were like, "Hey, we haven't seen you at any of the meetups recently," and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm kind of stepping back a little bit from certain things and trying to reflect more on other aspects of my business and things that I'm doing just because I need to get some of that time back. And
Yeah.
sometimes you got to be a little selfish with your time and who you spend it with.
Yeah. I just was listening to podcasts too, that it's all about, okay, setting boundaries and what are you able to say no to so that you can
Yes.
say yes, so that you can say yes to something else, so that you can say yes to, yeah, more free time, more time with your family, more time, because we just say yes to so many things that,
Yeah.
because we are programmed to do that.
100%.
Let people down.
Yeah. I think just look at the word no as an acronym, and that acronym is next opportunity, right?
Mm.
Because you might miss out on certain things if you're saying yes to everything. Sometimes you got to say no to certain things to be able to say yes to the right thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. For example, I have December is always busy for most people. It's just a lot going on. There's like
Sure.
a friend's wedding and a baby shower and like a lot of different, and they're kind of travel. The one is like I'm driving, but I'm still traveling and paying, stay in a hotel. And I had to say no. Like as much as I was like, oh, I really want to go, but energetically, and it's just going to take too much time away from the other things that I want to focus on. And I have to be able to say no to, I can't say yes to everything. You just have to realize that. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're just, like you said, you feel burnt out and like you feel resentful.
Yep. 100%. 100%. And then that's something that you might even hold against your friend in the future. I missed out on this opportunity because I went and did.
I just met with a client, like a new client who she's just has so much guilt and shame because she has a bunch of credit card debt right now that was all tied to her going to all these friends' weddings and bachelorette parties and all this stuff the last like 5 years. And she's like, no, I have all it's like, obviously she has to take responsibility. That's her choice. And that's what she's doing with coaching. But it's like, oh yeah, she is like, I said yes. And I had all these threats. And now I'm in a situation I don't want to be in.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. But I think that's something that for our listeners here, something to reflect upon, right? What do you want to focus your attention on? And how is that going to fill your bucket, right? You have all these other buckets you want to fill, but what about your own bucket, right?
Mhm.
The bucket that's going to give you joy and bring you happiness. I think that one needs to be filled the most. And a lot of times we forget that. So I hope
Yeah.
everybody that's listening right now can take some time to reflect and figure out what it is. What do you want to do in 2025? What are your goals? What are your intentions? And set them, right? Reflect on 2024. And if you had wins, fantastic. Check those off. If you have losses, hey, sometimes you got to lose to win, right? So reflect upon what you did, what you can do better for next year, and fill all those buckets. But don't forget to fill your own. So I don't know, Tanya, do you have any closing thoughts?
I think you said that perfectly. Yeah. I just think it's a really good time, like you said, to reflect and be intentional and feel like every area of your life, like there might be a time that you need to focus on work and certain things, but making sure there's balance, some sort of balance with the things that are the most important to you, something that everybody needs to have the awareness of. Because we just get so complacent, so like programmed, we're just wake up, do this, do that. It's like, how can we start to shake up our routine and do things differently that's going to make us happier and bring us more joy?
Yeah, that's a great point. Like I live by my calendar too. So one of the things that I need to focus more on is injecting other items into my calendar for like fun things. And
Yeah.
instead of just saying, oh, I've got open space here, so let's go do. I mean, yes, doing the random things are great, but I need to set like, I know on this day I'm going to go do this. It's also something to look forward to, right? It's something like,
Yeah.
hey, you count down the time. And but another thing too is just celebrate your wins, right? This is one of the things as a financial coach too that I used to always tell my clients, and that was, hey, if you paid off a credit card, it's okay to splurge a little bit and go out to dinner and celebrate that or something like, because it helps your whole mentality when it comes to your finances because you now associate that win with a reward, right?
Mhm.
It's basic psychology stuff, right? It's
Yep.
behaviorism. But little things like that can be so impactful. So, hey, if it's something you haven't done before, if it's something you've been thinking about doing, make 2025 the year that you get out there and you crush your goals.
Yeah.
Tanya, I'm super excited for the year. I know you are too. Let's get after it.
Yeah, let's go. Excited for you guys to continue joining us. We have a lot of great guests coming on next year, a lot of
Heck
new
yeah.
people. And so, yeah, stay tuned and make sure you share this with people you love and share with them the gift of personal finance and learning about their money as well.
Heck yeah. All right, everybody. Hey, thank you all so much for joining Tanya and I today and listening to us ramble a little bit about our goals for 2025 and reflecting on 2024. It's super exciting. These are exciting times, and for some people they might be nervous about what's coming in the future. Okay, right? The best thing you could do is prepare yourself. And the better way to be prepared is to set goals and set out to accomplish those goals. So, again, thank you so much for joining us today. Aloha from Hawaii,
And bye from Lake Tahoe.
and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for making it to the end of this episode. Greatly appreciate you being here with me today on the Average Joe Finances podcast. If you haven't done so yet, make this the episode that you go leave us a 5-star rating or subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Average Joe Finances podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Have an outstanding day.